Are you here?
Well, I'm here. I'm just a little slow.
As long as you're
But
here. Slow's okay, as
I'm,
long as
I'm
you're
here.
here.
And as long as you're here, then it makes it all worthwhile.
We're good.
Yep. Well, the Olympics are over. We got through
Yeah,
it.
that was 2 weeks.
2 weeks. It was interesting. It really was. Unfortunately, I think because of the time lapse,
Mhm.
it was hard to find, certain things that you wanted to watch. Uh, I just kind of tuned in and it was on, multiple channels. So at least you could go through and see it might have had track and field on one, and it might have had surfing on another and swimming on
Yeah,
another.
I didn't think they were gonna do anything live, but there were some live and then they would play it back in the evening
A lot of it
for
was early
everybody.
morning,
Yeah,
about around eight
well,
o'clock in the morning were a lot of the live events and all.
because of the time change.
Right, right.
So
But it was fascinating.
it
The
was,
uh
and they're planning, they had that promo
just did a
for
promo
4 years.
for 4 years from now, which is going to be in Los Angeles. That's going to make it real easy on all of us here in the United States because you're going to be following it in real time, even though it's on the West Coast, and so it's going to be several hours later on the East Coast. But they're starting to hype it up, and they did a promo if you saw it with Tom Cruise, a Mission Impossible kind of a
Who
thing.
else would it have been?
Sure, carrying the Olympic flag, getting on a plane, uh,
Doing
jumping
his thing.
jumping out of the plane, getting on a motorcycle, going over a cliff, passing. It was pretty cool, but it kind of just shows you
That is,
what they can
I
do.
didn't see that.
So the Olympics, that's not what we're going to talk about today. I
Yeah, I
I
think.
just I just I just thought about it because I was just thinking about the Olympics. It's something that we see every 4 years, or actually every 2 years, because 2 years is the Winter Olympics, and then 2 years later is the Summer Olympics. So now all these athletes go back into training for 4 more years for the Summer
And the
Olympics.
thought of them training for this point and then possibly not making it and then having to wait if they can, age-wise,
Yeah.
mobility-wise, for another 4 years. It's for those that didn't make it, it's gotta be tough. It's
Well,
gotta be
the
tough.
ones that didn't make it, and they're young enough, they know that they have to just keep their training regimen
Right,
going,
right.
and all. And now I forgot where the Winter Olympics is going to be, but the Winter
Yeah,
Olympics is always thrilling to watch too, because there's lots of really
yeah,
interesting events.
yeah.
Uh, but what we were going to talk about was, and I think it affects almost every one of you that's watching the show and following us, is listeria, which is a bacteria that affects meat, and maybe it affects more than meat, but it's just a bacteria that for a while recently completely shut down the meat industry, the what do you call it?
Well,
It,
the deli meat,
deli meats, and I don't know whether
it was
I
more just boar's head.
I think it was primarily boar's head, but because of the boar's head process that found the listeria bacteria, all the meat industry was suddenly looking and testing and checking to make
Excuse me.
sure. But boar's head literally took every cut
Yes,
of
they did.
meat off the shelves. And I remember going into one of the local markets probably a week after the shutdown, and I walked in and I walked past the deli counter, and there's the poor guy in the deli counter who's sitting there. The shelves are bare.
Well, they have cheese.
They had
If
cheese,
nothing
and that's
else.
all he was standing
Yeah.
there to help you if you needed sliced cheese. And I kept thinking, I would love to get some sliced cheese, but I got, other than bread, there's no meat to put my
The,
sliced cheese
but
on.
the thing was, they said it could have been up to a month,
Yes, and
and it
and
was
that's what they told
not.
me. I said, do you expect by the weekend that they'll have found the source and then start to put out the new product? And he says, we don't know. And I said, they haven't given you any indication. He says, no, it could be a week, it could be a month or
It
more.
was a week.
And I thought at that point, how on earth can you go that long without that kind of meat? However, I guess I should say there are more brands than Boar's Head.
Yes, there are.
But Boar's Head is one of the premier brands
But
of
then,
sliced
but then you
meats.
go with the prepackaged meats, but unfortunately they all have the preservatives.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. So,
And
so
so
the
in the
alternative,
refrigerated
yeah,
section.
is go to, names
Well,
like
it
Oscar
depends.
Mayer or whatever and buy the
It
packages.
depends how bad.
But we already know that if you read the label on that, it's got preservatives and additives
Right.
and things like that. So,
Or you go to salads,
yeah,
or you go to Old Standby.
well, or to their benefit, you go to the lesser known
Yes,
providers
Right.
of meat, and that may be maybe some of your local meat providers. You may not have the selection
mhm.
that you would have from a Boar's Head or so, but
Or it might not be as tasty, or a different type of taste. I mean,
however, you know how that works is if people maybe went to a market where they had an alternative brand and they tried it and they say, hey, this is pretty good. You
and it's a
may,
little less because Boar's Head is traditionally more expensive.
yeah, but finally it was back last week. I think the meats were back on the market and all. However, they were checking all of the plants that made the products for not only Boar's Head but others, and they found that there was still either the same bacteria or a different
Oh, I
bacteria
didn't hear that.
that shut down some of the meat production temporarily.
Oh,
They had produced so much that it didn't seem to affect the stores
mhm.
that had product in existence now. It was just that going forward, they stopped production. And generally what they do is they have to go back and stop and think about what a massive job it is
I can't
to
imagine.
clean every
Oh,
piece
God.
of equipment
Right.
that they have that produces their product
Mhm.
and the packaging, and literally have to, from top to bottom, just completely clean it. And then I assume they have to go to agencies to come in to inspect, to make
Absolutely.
sure that everything is, bacteria
And
free.
what about those people that were really ill? Do they have any recourse or not with the company? I don't know, because, I mean, you can die,
Well,
and I don't know if there were deaths from listeria. Did you check that out?
I didn't check it out. I didn't check it out, but
Yeah.
obviously, I always wonder, how did they find out? Was there somebody that did get the meat, got
Yes,
sick, and
yes.
went back to that store and said, I bought this meat the other day and everything, and I got sick,
Well, it wouldn't be one person. It would be many, many, many people contacting the company.
and then it
But
tested.
I'm sure that they frequently test their meats.
Oh, I'm sure
And
it's an ongoing
I'm
process.
sure
It would have to
between the
be.
public and them, who
Well,
knows? You don't hear the real
and
goings
you
on.
would figure that the manufacturers of those products and everything also have their quality control departments that, on a regular basis or periodically check their equipment, check
Mhm.
their product, take a slice off the line and everything just to check it uh, in their labs. And
Yeah, when you think about it, I don't ever remember this happening. I'm sure it did, and maybe I didn't realize it, but I would, you would think with everything that goes on and everything in the universe and in the grasses and the animals that can get sick, that
sure,
there wouldn't have been more of this.
well, but we've seen this in the fruit and vegetable industry.
Yeah,
There have been
that's
times
what I'm
where
saying.
they have pulled lettuce or something off the market and all because they found that there was something, a
Well,
parasite or something in the
right.
lettuce. And then you got to figure out, well, lettuce comes from all over the world. And where did this particular,
Well, that's why I'm surprised that the deli, the meat, hasn't been more, that you haven't seen more of it. They haven't had more problems. Thankfully, they haven't.
right.
And I'm glad they're also on top of it,
But
because it could be really
I'm thinking
terrible.
back to when we lived in South Florida. There was a short time where there was something that they found in the fish.
Yeah, and you would
And
think there'd be more of that.
and when you went in to buy just certain
Mhm.
fish, the counter was empty.
Right.
Because they had shut everything down. And whether it was in that local store or it was the provider. Fortunately, in South Florida, most of the fish they catch is locally caught. So they could narrow it down to where it may have been caught. But if it was imported fish that was brought in for a Kroger or Publix or Winn-Dixie or
Whoever.
Jewel Osco, to that comes from all over the world, and to have to go through and quickly try to
That's
narrow
what it is.
where it came from.
It's a frightening.
Yeah.
It's very frightening, and so it makes you think what could be and what more could happen, and you just kind of cross your fingers and you hope that everybody's on their toes.
Well, I think it's one of those cases of it's
In
not
the
a
food
matter of
industry.
if, it's a matter of when. That you know that sooner or later, there's going to be a contaminant of one kind or another. It could be major, it could be minor. I mean, look, the same thing with a strain of flu. You could go a
Mhm.
couple of years without, and then all of a
That's
sudden
right.
there is an outbreak of a flu that they put a handle on because it came from an African flu or
You
an
mean like
Asian flu.
COVID?
And COVID,
And there's still
which look at COVID. I mean,
there's more COVID now.
every year there's like a new strain of COVID. What does that mean? Now they have to have a new vaccine
And they
to
will.
fight that
In the
that
next
one.
month or two, there will be a new one
And
out.
just recently, folks be aware of this. It seems that there has been an increase in cases of COVID just over the last few months. And they're not exactly sure where the strain is coming from.
I haven't heard that much of it on the news, which I'm very surprised at, because for the number of people we know
Yeah,
in different states of the country,
like how about
different areas.
how about your sister?
Yeah, well, I'm saying
Your
it's
own
all
sister
over.
got
I
it for the
mean,
first time in all these years. We've had COVID for what, 4 years? It's been
3.5.
or so.
So,
And your sister just got it for the first time.
unless she had it and she didn't realize it. You don't know.
Yeah.
But
And then again, we can just not figure out exactly where it's coming from, but obviously it's somebody within a gathering situation. Could be on a cruise ship, could be on an airplane, it could be at a meeting, it could be in a mall.
don't forget,
And
this is summertime. You have a lot of people traveling. You have
yeah.
high temperatures, a
And
lot of
is
heat.
it the warmer it is, the
Yeah.
more that COVID
It can be, yeah.
multiplies.
Yeah, it's
And
better
and
off.
it's better off in the winter time.
Although now in the wintertime, you have people gathering in big banquet places and big convention halls for different things, one another, weddings. And those are heated spots
Right.
inside, and so they get it that way. I mean,
But we go to restaurants, we go to athletic events, we go to sporting events, go
you couldn't get
to
it,
concerts.
couldn't get it at a drive-through restaurant. I mean,
That's
it's
true.
very difficult. It is difficult, and that's why they want everyone to have a COVID vaccine. I know a lot of people are having second thoughts about it.
Yeah, I hope we don't get to that point where the epidemic grows so much that we have to go
We're-
back to wearing masks
They say
every day.
we never will, that they would never do that, because not
Really?
only was it bad for the economy, but they don't think overall it helped. If people would just wear masks
Yeah, well, that's
and
what I
wash
said.
their hands, that they
Yeah.
feel that would be
But I mean, there was a time where
90% of
wherever
it.
you went, 75 to 90% of the people were wearing masks. If you went to the grocery store, if you went out to eat when it first hit back in
When it first
2000.
hit, but right after that, people started getting lazy and lackadaisical.
Well, yeah, and
and
especially
you can't-
4 years later, now where it's resurfaced, there's probably a lot of people that said, been there, done that.
Yeah,
And so
but
they let their guard down.
but we have a lot of it here. I know the Midwest is having quite a bit of it. So
So
all you can do is
stay in
be
the
wary
house.
of where you are. Well, no,
Stay in the house. Don't go anywhere.
no,
Run down to your local market
not
right
it.
now and buy up all the boar's head meat that you can get your hands on and put it in the freezer.
and pick up your wipes,
Stock up
pick up a lot of
wipes
wipes
and use the hand sanitizer.
and a lot of soap
Yeah. Remember when you couldn't get your hands on hand sanitizer?
or wipes.
You know,
Yes, I do.
And wipes and for that matter,
Yeah.
toilet paper and paper towels, and there was just a,
Don't say it too loud.
yeah. Well, I think you stored up enough, so we're good for another few years.
That's not true. You
Well,
just.
yes, well, anyway, I hope that your meat counters are stocked right now. Go down and buy a pound or two of your favorite meat and all, but
Live it up.
keep your eyes open and watch for the reports of a recall of anything. You notice they never recall chocolate. I don't ever remember hearing,
Huh?
recall M&Ms recalled. No, it doesn't happen.
Are you kidding? You'd go through withdrawals.
Oh, you're right. Please, no, don't recall chocolate, don't recall bacon. And
Bacon.
I think there has
There
been
has
some
been, I think there has been.
bacon, but oh God, I couldn't exist without bacon either. But that's
another story
another
another
story and
time.
another show. So,
All right, you guys, thanks for joining us.
yep, go out, make it a good one. See you next week.
Bye.